Today's video is about anti-racism versus being against racism. We'll be looking at some definitions of racism, and as usual, I will be ranting mostly from my stream of consciousness about what I perceive to be of consequence in the newly reborn, fiery racism debate. I made a video recently about Confederate monuments and statues being torn down, mostly at the behest of the left. And my first point has to do with these dated yet historically significant monuments. I, not surprisingly, hold the exact opposite view of the mainstream media and Black Lives Matter thought leaders on this point. I thought we should have more Confederate statues. Before you yell racist and accuse me of being married to my cousin, let me explain. I think we should have more statues of Confederates to remind us just how close America came to destroying itself in the 1960s. When I travel to the South, especially tourist hubs like the beaches of South Carolina, I notice very quickly how many keepsakes are adorned with Confederate flags. It's probably a confirmation bias because once I noticed one, I couldn't stop finding them everywhere. The pride that these people have in their great-grandfathers and great-grandmothers' legacy is extremely unexpected. And you know what? I can't help but respect it when I visit there. Not because I owned slaves, or even these people living now did. Can we get off the topic? They are proud of the great free land that happened in spite of that ugly past. They're proud of their great-grandfathers fighting for something they believed in, liberty, or what they believed to be liberty, even if they turned out to be on the wrong side of it. They are proud of how an oppressed minority group rose from the ashes, picked itself up after a bitter defeat, and kept going. Of course, I'm not just speaking about blacks here. And trust me, there is an insane amount of ground we still need to make up in that regard. But the southern United States were an oppressed and minority group as well, in the United States. They are some of the most patriotic and nationalistic people in the world. And I have to think it has something connected to the idea of not being ashamed where you come from. History now is easy to pick apart for its flaws. But people that adorn the Confederate flag on their homes and businesses love their country too. I have to think that these people love it even though men went through hell to build what it is now. We would do well to hold up hard-working people, people that were determined and gritty and resolute. Slavery was and is a great evil in the world. We have a long way to go in combating its effects even today, especially as it pertains to the ideas surrounding racism and disadvantaging minorities, including blacks, but not just towards blacks, and there are still prejudices today. I think I finally understand why the left and Antifa types are tearing down not only Confederate statues, but also Union statues. I know you may be thinking this is dangerous thought ground I'm stepping into, but I think a healthy political discourse requires that we understand the other side's points. I believe what these Antifa types were thinking while destroying anti-slavery soldier monuments, and giving them the benefit of the doubt and not just being white haters, is that the Union members did not go far enough in their indictment of racist practices. And they do have a point. After all, America was still segregated by race up until about 50 years ago. What I don't understand is the nitpicking in this case, condemning men that abolished slavery for them. Because in places like the Chaz, or now the Chop, they seem to want segregated society back. This seems to be the exact message that the left is sending at the highest levels today. They've moved on from saying, we want more diversity in the workplace, which is racist in and of itself, by the way, to saying, racism is no longer just a belief that race is the primary determinant of human traits and capacities, and that differences produce an inherent superiority of a particular race, because nobody disagrees with that definition. Let me repeat it. Racism is a belief that race is the primary determinant of human traits and capacities, and that differences produce an inherent superiority of a particular race. Nobody disagreed with this for decades. Treating someone differently because of their race is racist. Stop doing it. Now it seems that the definition has changed to something truly despicable. Racism is prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against a person or people on the basis of their membership of a particular racial or ethnic group, typically one that is minority or marginalized. Wait, what? So Google Dictionary has now taken the side of these race-baiting psychopaths in dictating that if you're oppressed, you can't be racist. Read the definition. This is of course absurd in real life, and no honest person can believe that these two definitions can coexist. Either racism is bad and is defined as believing race is the primary determinant factor of human traits, or you're a good person and you think race shouldn't really matter. Only what is in the person's heart and how they comport themselves. This is the new racism definition, and it's extremely dangerous. Minorities and marginalized people need to let go of racial bias just like the rest of us and move on, maybe even more so. For instance, if you ask 100 white folks to describe themselves, they will very seldom, I dare say, use their skin color as a primary descriptor. When I think of a utopian world of the future where we live in harmony and stop judging other humans by their geographical origin, and begin to see each other as equals, I will again begin to see skin color as an interesting character trait. But honestly, for now, I don't. I don't think the evidence is clear, for instance, that police widely discriminate based on race. But, that being said, I do think race is a useful descriptor in some cases. Sadly, if someone of your race commits a crime in a neighborhood, don't be surprised if the police stop you by accident. Cooperate with them. Do not fight them. Do not antagonize them, and I promise you, you will be alright. I promise. Unarmed black men killed by the police made up just 9 individuals last year. Not one of them was a docile, cooperative suspect. They all fought arrest in one way or another. So don't misunderstand me. It's a tragedy when even one human loses his or her life, any skin color. Because again, I don't care that much about skin color as it pertains to being a primary determinant in your human traits and capacities. Doing the math, an unarmed black man that was innocent of an attack against the police had a % chance of dying of 0. When you are accidentally pulled over, and you have really done nothing wrong, thank them for trying to find the person responsible and move on with your life. If anything, and this is a real puzzler for me, black people should want crime rooted out of their neighborhoods even more than whites. So helping police track down criminals like Michael Brown makes everybody safer. Locking these dangerous people up would make your chances of being stopped by accident lower and lower with each additional crime. Finally, another racist attitude pertains to the correct names for individuals with more melatonin in their skin. When referring to individuals with dark skin, I prefer the term black, not something like African American. I think African American is too nonspecific, and it's not useful in everyday language. I'm also not on the train of using the newest politically correct terms for things, it's true, but I have to call facts what they are and when I see them. I can't stand the term people of color. It's an obvious semantic overload meant to mean non-whites, but without the necessity for specificity. Just saying people of color have problems with the police is so vague that not only can it not be proven, it's also impossible to debunk. Any term that is this non-specific is utterly useless in a language, in my opinion. Now let me explain with an example. Let's say a white man robs a convenience store. He wears a mask, but the shop owner could see that he had red hair and white skin. He was the better part of 6 feet tall. Now even with a mask on, that's a pretty specific description. Red hair is relatively rare, and men above 6 feet even more so. The police cruise around for a while and find someone fitting this description. They question him, find his alibi lacks plausibility. They search the man, find a wad of cash, 10 packs of cigarettes, and a balaclava-style ski mask. Nobody in their right mind, and I mean nobody, would question the practice of profiling based on race and other easily discernible traits in this case. This is a very long-winded way of getting to my point, which is saying black when describing someone's skin color is just a colloquialism. Very few people of African or even other origins have black skin. More often, they are shades of brown. In the case of mixed individuals, sometimes barely look non-white at all. This is the issue I have with terms like African American. When describing someone like Morgan Freeman, who I think is one of the most iconic actors of all time, may I add, notice I didn't say iconic black actors of all time, because I don't care about someone's race as it pertains to their ability to act, so why even mention it? We don't hold different 100-meter dash records for different races, because that would be racist. Morgan Freeman is black. He's also awesome. Now another example. Elon Musk is African American. See the difference? Morgan Freeman has less to do with Africa than the founder of Tesla and SpaceX. Now, this may sound like I'm caught up in semantics, but I think our attitude on these issues matters as it pertains to liberty and freedom. Saying the origins of a person in relation to their race is regressive. It moves us further away from the utopia I mentioned earlier. I am not European American, I'm American. I wouldn't even say I'm Scottish American. I don't want to be anything but American. Period. If I have to describe myself, I'm white. That's it. In conclusion, I have met hundreds of black people in my life. I've never met one who was a criminal, or had even been arrested. I know I am extremely biased. I am extremely privileged. I grew up with two parents in a safe, middle-class North American neighborhood. I had French-Canadian friends, Jewish friends. We even had one black family that lived on the cul-de-sac I lived on growing up. I assumed they enjoyed the exact same privileges as us, even while being black. Maybe even more privileges that I don't know about, but that's just fine with me. Living in harmony means leaving behind these ties to old problems, old prejudices, and even old proclivities. That's all I have for you today. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, as it really helps the channel to grow. Like this video to help others find it. I'm still at the very beginning of this YouTube journey, and I'd love to hear what you think in the comments below. This is Laughin' News. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.